Hi everyone, so last night I've been trying out the Inner Monk on the Season 25 PTR. So you might have already seen or heard some things about this. It's absolutely dominating, partly due to the bugs that people are using right now with equipping two different weapon shards at the same time, which is not supposed to be possible. And also just the fact that some of these are completely broken, like this exploding mechanic that I've already shown at other times with the Essence of Anguish gem that makes the killing blow damage spread to 25 yards radius, and that double dips on your multipliers. So essentially you one-shot everything once you kill one little target. And there's also this helm gem where sometimes you spawn this ring of fire, and that basically also instantly kills everything in its radius. So without those three OP things, I've just been playing the regular build how it is supposed to be with the Shenlong set and also some other variations I'm going to talk about in a second. Shenlong's is the non-seasonal version of the build, so in case you were not aware, because it came out with the Season 24 Ethereals, you actually use this set here, and there's no other weapon combo that does really anything like that. So for pushing, this is most likely going to be the way. That being said, there is also some other variations you can do if you really don't like Shenlongs, and that is using the Nonseason Daibo and then combining it with the Captain Crimson set. So essentially you unequip the two weapons, you have one extra set item equipped, and this allows you to go with the Crimson, and you also put in the inner boots and you have the full set. This makes it so that you have to drop the Orgel set though, because you need to have the Crus boots and the Bindings of the Lesser Gods, and you can only cube one of them. So you wear those and you cube the boots. So this is how that setup works. And you don't have this Shenlong minigame anymore, and you get a sizable Mystic Ally damage bonus on your weapon, plus the much larger explosion damage just from wearing the two-handed, and it actually works really well. So I've been playing with both of these and trying to do some 140 solo speedruns. It's kind of similar to what I've been doing on Rathma, and it actually turns out that those two builds seem to be quite close performance-wise. I can't really pinpoint it exactly right now. It also depends a little bit on how well you are actually executing the Shenlong minigame playstyle, but this is not really that hard to do anyway, because you can just try to go with the lowest maximum spirit pool possible, which is 250, not putting anything into Paragon, not having anything on your helm or your weapons, and every time you activate Mystic Allies you get 200 spirit anyway. So essentially once you do that, you will instantly fill up with just a few punches, and if you're already in the Shenlong's debuff window, you can actually refill it enough to give your Mystic Allies enough time to actually explode with the buff up. So that works pretty well. I believe for farming we will definitely see both variations being used, one of the Shenlongs, one of the Daibo. Overall, Shenlongs is probably gonna win out just because it has really large multipliers. The slower the run is, the lower the cost of using Shenlongs becomes, so it kind of makes sense that it wins out in pushing. Also because you might be wearing the Bane of the Stricken, which scales with your attack speed. So when you have two one-handers, obviously you attack much faster than with this two-handed Daibo. That being said, the Crimson set that's included in the Daibo version is actually really powerful because of the Essence of Anguish gem. Essentially, you're running around with something like 85 or 90% cooldown, and this is also directly translated into extra DPS through the Crimson set. So you actually have pretty solid multipliers with the Daibo, and this is the reason why it turns out to be so good. I haven't really been doing many runs with those setups. I just spent like a few tries here and then a few tries with the other, and then I also cleared like 150, which was literally one key try, like a 6-minute clear or something with the Shenlong's version. So it is incredibly powerful as expected, and I don't think that in pushing at least anything will beat Innas, but we'll see. Rathma definitely looks very powerful, Bombardment looks quite good, and we have to wait for the PTR patch to adjust some things to see the true potential of some builds, because right now it is pretty messy on the PTR. A lot of people are also asking me what will happen to the One-Kempo version. Well, I believe that One-Kempo is probably not good enough on season, at least, because you do get all this extra cooldown reduction from this Essence of Anguish gem, and you don't really have any use for this Zodiac Ring and the One-Kempo Tempest Rush shenanigans. On non-season, however, there is actually an interesting evolution of this build where you don't have to go with the Shenlongs necessarily. It is only a few tiers stronger, is hard to say exactly, but something along the lines of 3 to 4 tiers than the One-Kempo version, even without the Ethereals. And there is actually an interesting stealth buff in this patch that was not announced anywhere, and that is that you can spawn Oculus Rings now with your pet kills, which previously wasn't possible before when you had an Oculus Ring just on the follower. And this makes it so that the One-Kempo version actually catches up to the Shenlong's version, which was playing a 20-second rotation and obviously didn't have any use for an Oculus Ring anyway, while the One-Kempo version is constantly going boom boom, and you can actually run into those Oculus Rings because you constantly kill enemies. So this is actually very interesting, and an 85% multiplicative damage buff that is up at least half the time, I would say, more like 2/3 of the time, is probably enough to kind of balance out those two setups if you want to play them. So because of these changes and the way the balance turns out, there might actually be two different solo pushing variations on Nonseason, one using Shenlong, one with One-Kempo, and also two different variations, at least for farming, on Season, one using the Daibo and one using the Shenlongs. So quite curious, but overall, obviously, Inner is extremely powerful, and it doesn't look like they are gonna adjust it down anytime soon. So usually Blizzard seems to wait 2 seasons to nerf something, unless something goes really out of control, I believe. And this is also what we're gonna have to deal with next season. So it's gonna be very powerful in Season 25. And the way it looks right now, potentially the best build again, which is not really the biggest surprise because the overall balance of builds is not really changed by those soul shards. Basically everyone gets massive buff, some a little bit more than others, but Inners also profits quite a lot from this extra cooldown reduction because of the way that cooldown reduction is stacked in this build. So unless they take this PTR patch and massively nerf those soul shards, Inners is gonna destroy the GR150 very early in the season. So we have to wait and see what happens with the soul shards. Unless Blizzard nerfs them massively, I believe it can probably clear a GR150 solo with Inners as early as like Saturday on season start weekend. And even if they bring down soul shards by, let's say, 5 tiers or so, it would still be kind of a cakewalk with Inners. That's just how good Inners is. On the live servers, I've heard the lowest clear of 150 was with 2.6k Paragon, which is very good. So obviously we know that it is a very powerful build, and the Ethereal season theme actually benefited Inners almost the least out of most builds because it already had this very powerful Shenlong's build, and you had to give up the Shenlongs to wear the Ethereal, which slightly won by a little margin. And now you have the Soul Shards theme, which is much more powerful than Ethereals, so it kind of makes sense that this is just completely ridiculous. In any case, I'll keep you guys updated with more stuff on the PTR. So today we expect the PTR update, so we'll see what happens with the Soul Shards, we'll see what happens with some of the builds, and I will keep you guys posted. So hope you enjoyed my thoughts here, and see you guys next time.